All right, wanted to invite everyone to the Limebox Netgain webinar, Mastering the Art of an Efficient Month-End Close. Thank you all for attending. We're excited to put this on. We're going to hopefully do a series of these, especially with several of our different partners, just to kind of showcase their tools as well as our ability to implement those tools. And just really excited to share all the work that we've been doing in the NetSuite space to really provide a full suite of options for our clientele. Want to introduce both Andy and myself. Andy's at the Netgain side. She's kind of our partner manager. So we work with her a lot with clients that we bring to her to try to vet them out and make sure that the tool is the right product for everyone. Myself, I'm one of the co-founders here at Limebox. We started the company back in 2014 inside the NetSuite space and really just kind of grew it from 2017 to 2020. So I've been kind of on the solutions architect side as well as business development, and so really excited to get started. Little bit about Limebox. As I said, we got started in 2014 in the NetSuite space. Have been focused mostly on customizations and implementations and rescues. And in 2019, we were invited into the Alliance Partner Program. And for those who don't know, the Alliance Partner Program is a direct partnership with NetSuite to offer professional services to their clients, to the NetSuite ecosystem. And we've enjoyed that for quite a few years and really have been building a name for ourselves for the quality of work that we've done. And one of the things that we've really focused on for the last year, as I said, is building kind of a group of partnerships with SDN, what's called an SDN partner in the space, so that we can provide our customers with as much support as we can throughout the industry. Little bit about where we're located. So we are in the North American time zones. Most of our resources are in the North American continent, but we have branched out into the Costa Rican and Peruvian markets. And so we're excited with the growth that we've seen. We have over 30 consultants at this point that are working with us, both full-time and contractor based. We're really committed to the NetSuite program by offering all of our consultants an opportunity to get certification. So we're 16 plus certifications strong, and over 150 clients in the NetSuite space. We moved into the NetSuite space partially because we saw that there was a gap that needed to be filled, and the gap is consulting firms that really take the time to understand what the actual needs are and putting forth that extra effort to learn the customer's business and really understand what they're needing to use the NetSuite solution for. And we've really seen a lot of success in that area because we've focused on these 5 tenets of success, really learning and understanding the customer, adapting to each situation, and just really finding the best solution for everyone. And we're really excited to kind of share with you another solution that we found in the net close option. In the areas that we focus on are anything involving products and inventory. So that includes field service, manufacturing, and wholesale distribution. So anything that you have inventory for, whether you're creating that inventory or moving that inventory or delivering that inventory, is kind of our key area of focus that we've been able to really shine in. And without further ado, I will pass it over to my colleague Andy, who looking forward to learning more about NetClose. Oh, awesome. And I did also want to say, I apologize. If you have any questions that come up during the webinar, there is a Q&A button right on the Zoom screen that if you click on that, you can ask questions. And then kind of towards the end of the call, we'll get to those questions should we have time.
Super. Thanks for that intro, TJ. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Andy Lampert. As mentioned, I am on the Netgain side. Little background on me. I do come from a purely accounting background, started my career in audit, spent about 3 years there before moving over to a consulting role where I wore a lot of hats, but kind of controllership type roles, a lot of operational accounting, technical accounting, 842 adoption, close management, all of that really good stuff. So I've seen a lot of accounting from different perspectives before coming over to Netgain. And I'm super excited to talk about close management. This is something I was really close to for those 2 years on the operational side, and an area that a lot of people have a lot of questions on. So we are going to take a look at net close. Let's see. Next slide. Before we get going, I do just have a couple of slides, but I promise this won't be death by PowerPoint. We will actually get into the software so we can take a look at what that would look like as a user. Before we get going, just since this may be some of your first times meeting Netgain and meeting myself, I just want to introduce ourselves and let you guys know who we are and what we do. So we do create NetSuite native applications. What does that mean? When we say native, really what I want you to think of is efficiency. So when looking at different applications, different tools, there's kind of 3 different categories that clients are going to be looking at. We have integrated apps, hybrid apps, and native. I'm going to be biased, but of course, our clients and myself really lean towards that native option. It's going to allow us to leverage your existing NetSuite platforms. You're doing a lot of work, you're spending a lot of time in that platform. So let's just stay in there versus logging out into, another application that's maybe leveraging APIs or syncing information. We're going to cut all of that out and just keep everything housed in NetSuite. Another benefit from this, of course, is implementation. So as we do start looking at different implementation settings, we're going to be able to leverage roles, permissions, workflows. So we're not recreating the wheel. We're actually using all of that that's been set up previously. Then from a security point of view, using that NetSuite platform obviously allows for greater IT controls. So again, NetSuite native efficiency, we're not leaving, and you'll see that here in our demo. So we are focusing on net close today, but I did want to just mention a couple of our other tools that we have in our arsenal. So our flagship tool is going to be our net lease tool. This really is what launched Netgain as a company. So think lease compliance 842. If we have any international folks, IFRS 16, it's going to be our comprehensive lease accounting tool for the lessee. We also have a lessor tool. So if you are the landlord, kind of just the other side of the coin there. When I talk about this, think full lease automation, creating our amortization schedules. We have modifications, reversals, totally going to be able to handle that. We also can plug into the accounts payable and accounts receivable systems as appropriate if we're billing or receiving invoices. Net asset, that is going to be our fixed asset management. So if you have used the fixed asset module FAM through NetSuite, this is a full replacement for that tool. So really powerful, a lot of upgrades there if you have been using FAM. Net loan is going to be our loan solution. We are on both the borrower and the lender side. It's going to help clients keep all of their loan information together. And again, creating those amortization schedules. We can handle modifications. If we do need to plug into our AP or AR system, we can absolutely do that. Net close, won't spend too much time since we're about to deep dive into that, but that is going to be our close management solution. And then finally, as a little bonus, hopefully we have time to get into it, but our shared transaction tool. So if anyone is familiar with the shared vendor bill through NetSuite, they have deprecated that tool, and we were actually tapped by NetSuite to create a new tool. So that is our shared transaction tool. It's going to allow us to allocate transactions across segments, departments, projects. We have the ability to do intra-company. So really awesome tool there, powerful if you have any allocation needs or you're doing any month-end allocations. Really would recommend looking into that. Okay, so enough with who Netgain is, what we do. Let's get into net close. So when I was thinking about this webinar, our close management offering is a little bit unique out of the rest of our offerings, where if we're talking about leases, we're talking about loans, we're talking about assets, we're creating schedules and we're posting those entries right to the general ledger. Close management really, you have to look at it more from a holistic point of view of more of a project management, right? So I didn't just want to jump right into a demo, but I wanted to kind of paint a picture of who this tool is going to be helpful for, who might see themselves using a tool like this. So in order to do that, I used my creativity and actually came up with a little case study. So as I mentioned, I did work on the consulting side. So I'm going to put on my consulting hat again and pretend I had a client coming for some close optimization. So maybe their team has grown and they're just not closing the books as quickly as they want to. I think we all can relate to that. We're always pushing our timelines, trying to get closed quicker and quicker and quicker. So let's kind of jump into that role. So we have company ABC Co. They have come to us saying we need help with close. So the first question I'm going to ask is, what does close mean to you? Close can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Are we hard closing? Are we soft closing? Are we doing it quarterly, monthly? So just some good questions to say, when you say close, what do you mean? So this particular company, when they're closed, they expect their accounting analysis to be done. They expect journal entries to be posted. They want some financials prepared, management review. Obviously, any errors, we're going to want to post those adjusting journal entries, and then reporting at month end. So these are kind of the things that they gave me that this is what month end close means to them. So let's say we sat through a month end close with them. And I'm coming back now as that consultant with some observations. So top 3 issues we identified was that ABC Co has a lot of manual processes. So they have a closed calendar, which is awesome. That's step 1, right? We need to have kind of a tracking of what we need to do, who needs to do it. But it's manual. Maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet and we're rolling that forward every month. So a lot of manual processes. Reconciliation process seems to be delayed. We identified some confusion over ownership, who's doing what. Deadlines weren't communicated, so we didn't know, maybe business day 3 versus business day 4, when things really needed to be done, or there were dependencies. So let's say we needed to book some accruals before we reconciled accounts payable, and we reconciled accounts payable before we did that. That's going to throw us off. So making sure we realize the dependencies and things that need to happen before we can complete our tasks. Approval process was messy or confusing. We weren't keeping a good audit trail. That's going to kind of bite us in the butt come audit season. Support was hard to locate. Adjusting entries were not communicated and caused delays. And then we identified some issues with the accrual process. Estimates were hard to support, so we weren't sure where those estimates were coming. Were they directly from the vendor? Were they historical? Or maybe we had accruals that were just missing. So we reversed an accrual and we forgot to rebook it for the next month. So just some common things that we can kind of identify here as issues in our close that are absolutely going to cause us delays. So proposed solutions. So as a consultant in that role, I definitely would recommend let's front load some work. So maybe that looks like rolling forward our work papers, preparing reconciliations in advance. If we do have entries that reversing those before we get to month end. And so what I'm expecting here is, business day, -3, -2, -1. Is there anything we can do before we hit month end close that's going to help us once we are kind of in the swing of things, right? Let's identify bottlenecks. Is there maybe a task that every month we're like, hey, this one thing every month, it's holding us up. Let's identify why and how we can maybe assist that team. Implementing standard templates and procedures definitely are helpful. So our team knows, this is what a reconciliation looks like. This is what a adjusting journal entry support should look like. So let's implement some standardization and make sure we know what that should look like. And then finally, I'm going to, I really love that they're using a spreadsheet to track their close process, but maybe let's try to utilize something to automate that a little bit more. So we don't have a staff level person rolling forward that workbook every month and deleting sign-offs, deleting approvals, deleting any notes. Let's automate that. We can also look at automation in different aspects. Maybe, do we have an accounts payable system? Are we doing that manually? There's things like bill.com, SquareWorks. try to look into that. Expense management, are we using anything there? So there's a lot of tools that we can start to think about, but we definitely want to kind of get to the core of the problem before just throwing a bunch of software at it. So in this case, I would say, cool, we're keeping tasks, we're keeping management in an Excel spreadsheet. How can we maybe automate that to identify, or not identify, but to answer some of the issues we've identified? So cool, we've set the stage. This is our problem child. I think we have some really realistic solutions here. And if we just kind of attacked this at a couple different levels, I think we could speed up their close quite a bit. So I'm with Netgain. I'm obviously going to deep dive into the automation, but I did just want to set that up as a holistic view. So let's talk a little bit about using a close management tool. So as I mentioned, this tool is going to be a little bit more unique in the Netgain products. So we are going to have different modules that make up NetClose. So that's what I have here. These are all the different modules we're actually going to click through in NetSuite here in a moment, but I did want to just, again, set the stage. It's a lot of information. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit higher level just to get through all of this. But if you guys have any questions, please throw them in the Q&A. We'll try to get to them as we're going. And if we can't, we'll absolutely reach out back to you and make sure we're getting those questions answered. So starting with task management. So think that month-end close calendar, that Excel spreadsheet maybe we're tracking with all of our different assignments. We are going to actually bring that task management board into NetSuite. We built it out as a Kanban or Kanban board, depending on how you pronounce that name. And we're going to be able to set that up to roll forward monthly and automatically. So no one has to go in and manually create these tasks. We set them up once during implementation, and then those will roll forward monthly. Sub-ledger enhancements. These are going to add some functionality around our accruals and our amortization. So prepaids, if you are familiar with the NetSuite prepaid module, quite similar, but just some added flexibility and added functionality around modifications, or if maybe you have a prepayment that amortizes early. We're going to have some abilities to write those off. Then we are going to go into reconciliations. Again, bringing that all into the NetSuite space. We're going to be able to auto-generate based on different criteria we've set up. We also have some added functionality where we can start auto-reconciling. So maybe there's accounts that we really don't care about. Maybe they're below materiality. Depending on the rules we set up, we can start auto-reconciling that to keep your team focused on what really matters. So I'm talking about maybe accounts that have a $0 balance, 0 monthly activity. It's still at 0. Let's not waste time there. Let's set up a rule that auto-reconciles, and we can move on to our fixed asset recon that's super complicated, and we have a ton of additions and disposals. Flux analysis, really cool opportunity here as well. So bringing that into NetSuite, we're able to start leveraging things like subledgers to start seeing the analysis between whether you want budget versus actual, month over month, year to date, where in my past life, when I've done flux analysis, I'm downloading GL data, I'm matching everything up, and I'm trying to see what changed and where do we need to kind of drill into. So we can set materiality levels based on dollar, based on percentage, and start automating that process. We also have some AI functionality that I'll show you. I know everyone's very excited about that. So we have baked that in here to try to speed up those explanations. Close controls. So kind of think of this as a soft close. So one pain point we've heard from a lot of clients is during the close process, it's kind of an all or nothing. So the best example I had personally was we needed to shut AP down, but our close wasn't done for another 5 days. So what we've done here is created a soft close module where we can start actually locking down things by subsidiary, transaction level, account, user roles. And so you can actually close down AP without the close being completely done. And so that's really nice, especially as you get to the end of close. If you have any adjusting journal entries, and maybe as the controller, you're going in and you need to make a quick adjustment instead of sending out that Slack or Teams message to everyone who's like, don't go into NetSuite, I'm opening the period. we can use the soft close and just identify a user that maybe could post versus opening the entire period up. So really love that option as well. And then closing adjustments. I am seeing that I have a typo here, guys. I am so sorry, but closing adjustments, this is going to allow for some allocations and consolidations. And then that next bullet is not supposed to read closing adjustments. It's supposed to read bank reconciliations. Very sorry. The reason it's wrong is because this is brand spanking new. We actually just launched this out at Suite World this last couple weeks. So our bank reconciliation module, super cool. We're able to leverage Plaid, if anyone's familiar with that. It's kind of the same technology behind Venmo and a lot of those cash-based apps. So we are able to connect bank activity into NetSuite. NetSuite does have their own bank recon module. This one, again, with a lot, just like a lot of our products, more flexible, more user-friendly. We can connect to a lot more banks as well using that Plaid connection. But it's going to allow us to review, auto match bank transactions. And again, I'll show you all of this, but just want to get this out there as kind of an agenda before we jump into the actual NetSuite module. All right, so that's a lot of information. That's where we're going. I'll kind of pause here, TJ, to see if there's any questions as I pull up my NetSuite.
No questions yet, but if anyone does have any, feel free to use the Q&A section. And
all right, super duper. All righty, so I should be pulling up NetSuite here. Can I just get confirmation I'm sharing the right screen quickly?
yes.
All right, I'll take negative confirmation. This is, I'm showing NetSuite.
Yeah. Sorry,
okay, no, you're good.
and we have a quick question while we're in a break.
Oh, sure.
This presentation will be available to download. We'll send this out to all of the attendees as well.
Awesome. Okay, good deal. All right, so as I mentioned, that NetSuite native, that this is going to be the first opportunity that we see that. So what that means is we are going to sit right up here on the dashboard. I joke that if you weren't in this call or a part of our sales process, you may not know that you weren't actually in NetSuite applications, which is awesome. That's exactly what we want. We don't want you needing to learn a new platform. So you're going to see all of the different tools right up here, and we will actually start in NetClose. So all of the applications are going to be built out quite similar as far as we're going to have this overview. We'll have a built-in dashboard setup. I'm not going to spend too much time in here, but this is where, as you are looking at implementation, this is where you're going to really work through a lot of what makes your company unique. So, you know, we're going to look at account groupings, different procedures, accrual options, that bank connect. That's where we're going to find that to actually link our bank accounts in. But this is, you can kind of think back of the house, a lot of that setup information that you'll be doing with the implementation team. So first item, we're just going to run through pretty much as they're listed here. We are going to start with tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we would generate those tasks. So here we can see our accounting period is October. And here's all those tasks that we had imported or we had set up in our implementation. We can see the name of the task. We have a general classification, business day allocated. So, you know, again, if we're trying to do things in what I would term pre-close, so negative days before close, you can see the business days. We also can assign a frequency, an importance level for that task, and even a risk level, which I really love as kind of a past auditor, making sure we're thinking through the risk levels. And then finally, we'll allocate or assign an owner to each of those tasks. So once we actually create the tasks and roll those forward, we will be able to go into our task board, which is the Kanban board here. So people love this. It's pretty nifty. You can see here, initially we have a couple of different statuses. So not started, working on it, maybe someone's blocked or is waiting on someone else, under review, and then the promised land, complete. So this is a really great task board that you could leverage during those daily close calls. So I know my team, we would meet every morning for about 15 minutes, get a quick look at exactly what's open, if anyone's blocked, maybe trying to identify that. Each task, as you can see, has its own kind of information. We can drag and drop items. So if this was my task and I was working on it, I can drag that over into the different sections. Of course, we can set up different user access so that not everyone can drag it to complete. So you can see this Flex analysis. Looks like I am not a reviewer and therefore I could not move it over into complete. So we do have some controls in there. Let's go ahead and actually drill into a task itself. So all I did was just click on this task. You can see verified disposals are complete. Looks like the status is moved to working on it. We can quickly see an assignee. If we did ever need to change that assignee, maybe someone's out on vacation, or maybe Josh is just totally underwater and has too much on his plate, we can easily change that assignment. You can see important information like start date, due date, importance and risk level, like we looked at before, and then a quick description. We also can input an estimate of hours, which is super awesome. Here we can start adding comments. So looks like Josh needed some help and he can start adding, a team member, and it will send off an email to them, which is great. We can also set up dependencies. It doesn't look like this one has any, but if we did have any dependencies that we were aware of that needed to happen before this task took place, we could add those in here. So kind of responding to that client saying, I didn't know that XYZ had to happen before I did my recon, or I didn't know that had to happen before I verified disposals were complete. So making sure that's very clear. We can also add steps. So it looks like we do have a couple steps in here. We've created the procedure asset disposal. So first step, verify disposals for the period are accurate and complete. We even can link different items, since we are in NetSuite, to where we may want to go for that information. So it looks like this is going to link us to our asset balance roll forward report. So we can take a look at those disposals. If we were expecting to see a disposal and aren't, we can kind of dig in there. And then we also have dispose any assets. Again, another link here. And I believe this actually takes us to our knowledge base. So this is a comprehensive knowledge base that all users would have access to. So maybe if you had questions on, oh, shoot, we do have an asset disposal. How do I do that? We can link straight to an article, and you can do that for any of these. Maybe, if you're doing credit card accrual, you can link to your Brex account or whatever credit card. So we can do links both internal and external to NetSuite, which is pretty great. We can see here, we can mark our steps complete, and then sent emails, kind of an audit trail of that communication, and then history, who has done what within the task. All right, that is everything I wanted to cover on tasks. Any questions that have come up yet here?
No questions yet, but if there are any, feel free to ask them.
Super. Okay, well, let's move along then. Next, we are going to move just straight down the list, and we are going to look at reconciliation. So I'm going to go ahead and hit prepare reconciliation, similar to that task board. We can see what that would look like. Oh, these might be, oh no, it's my assignee, excuse me. Clear my filters. Okay, there we go. So here are all those reconciliations. Again, we would have worked with you on this on the setup, identifying different GL accounts that maybe want to group, or if we want to reconcile individual accounts, we absolutely can do that here. But we can quickly identify the account, the period we are reconciling, the different status. So it does look like we have a couple of auto reconciliation rules set up, which is great. Different assignees, our due date, and of course our explained balance and our unexplained balance, and the goal to get that unexplained balance down to 0. So this is where we would actually roll those recons and set ourselves up to start reconciling. So let's go ahead and review reconciliations. I'm going to move this to September. Clear my filters. Alrighty, so here are those September reconciliations. And again, We can see we have a whole host of different statuses now. So we've already touched on auto reconciled. I think we all understand what not started means, but you can see here we do have in progress, completed, and even the ability to send back for edits if something has been submitted for review. Or we get a lot of questions around this area. If a balance changes, does it flag? Absolutely. So you can see this looks like it was submitted for review. The balance has since changed, so it's going to require some additional eyes on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at this accounts payable. Oops, excuse me. We'll take a look at what's actually going on in here. So just like that task, we're going to get some quick information on the status. We can see the assignee, the due date, etc. We can see our general ledger beginning balance and ending balance. And as it mentioned, want to get that explained balance down to 0. 2 ways that we can start automating our reconciliation process. I'm going to start with the item upload, just because I think for a lot of clients, this is a little easier to explain as you are adopting a new process. So item upload, think about this as taking your existing reconciliations that you're probably already doing in Excel. We can drag and drop them right into the system. And what we're going to do is actually tag them in the Excel so that once it pulls into NetSuite, the system's going to recognize what that ending balance is. So this would really be the first step to leveraging the reconciliations you're already doing and dropping them into the system. So you can think of this more as like a document repository, but I do want to mention we do have the ability to start actually reconciling accounts in the system through these items. So with these different items, you can see here we have a couple of different things dropped in here, but it quickly gets complicated, but we can actually start leveraging things called saved searches. And what we're going to do with a saved search is leverage a subledger. If you're using Netgain products, so if say you're using our net asset or net lease, what we can do is connect that information and those balances and activity to your recon. And assuming that that reconciliation has the same balance in the subledger as your general ledger, we have the opportunity to actually set up auto reconciliation rules. So you may not have to be digging through the details. If you're not using Netgain products, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but there's absolutely still opportunity with things like your accounts payable ledger or maybe your accounts receivable. So you can do it with different databases within NetSuite. It just, you see the opportunity a little bit better with multiple Netgain products, of course. But again, opportunity there where we can start leveraging different subledgers within NetSuite, which is pretty cool. Again, like tasks, we have the opportunity to drop comments. We have an approval thread here, which is great from an audit perspective, audit trail. So that was, if you remember, one of our clients' complaints. We didn't know who was supposed to prepare. We didn't know who was supposed to approve. And maybe our auditors are on us for some control deficiencies. And then again, history, we have that available here for who did what in the system. All right. That is about everything I wanted to cover on reconciliations. Any questions here?
Yeah, we kind of had a general question on, you had kind of mentioned the audit. Can you cover a little bit about more how NetClose helps with the audit?
Absolutely, yeah. So one thing I can tell you as an auditor that kind of made us get squirrely and a little bit uncomfortable is when our clients started telling us about all the different tools they were using. We're using this for expenses, this for credit cards, this for, equity and stocks. And all we're thinking as auditors is, what is the risk level? And do we need to pull SOC reports? So bringing everything into NetSuite, just at that level alone, your auditor is going to kind of take a sigh of relief of there's one system I need to, vet. There's one source of truth. I don't need to go to all these different places. So just from a security point of view, your auditor is going to be like, oh, okay, cool. We know NetSuite. We know we can pull a SOC report. We know what we're dealing with. So from that perspective, they're going to love that. The other perspective is audit history. So as we mentioned, we can hold things like preparers, approvers. We can also attach different links or different support. So if we have an Excel spreadsheet or maybe a PDF that explains a reconciling item. Let's get that into NetSuite and make sure it's attached to the record. So as a controller and as an accounting manager, our CFO and CAO, they hounded us day after day. NetSuite is our source of truth. If it is not in NetSuite, it does not exist. I don't care if it's in your Google Drive. I don't care if it's on your hard drive. When the auditors come knocking, if I can't find it in here, it's a problem. And so that is really creating an efficiency across the board. And it's just allowing you to not have to think, oh, shoot, where did that recon go? Or, oh, shoot, where did that piece of support go? So a couple different areas there, but I can tell you from experience, those are some areas we really liked to see as auditors. And then on the operations side, my controllers like to see.
Excellent. We've actually had a couple others come in. So one of them is the history searchable that you were showing?
History searchable. Let's see. This history here, is that what I'm assuming?
Yes.
I don't believe it is. But I can definitely take a note and follow up on that. But I'm gonna say at this moment, just looking here, I don't think so.
And it might be in a saved search. What we need to do is find out if the saved search is searchable in the next set of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we had a question, can we benchmark closing across periods to see how the team is doing?
Yes. Yep. So that is going to be, I believe, in our dashboard is where we can start setting things up there. And I'm assuming what you're asking is if we can see last month it took us 9 days, this month it took us 8, something like that. Is that kind of getting at what we're thinking here? And I know you guys can't speak, so I guess I'm asking a question that's going to be very hard to answer.
That's how I would interpret that question. Correct.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Yeah. So we have these dashboards built out, and you can kind of see here, we're going to give you some metrics that you can start looking at and seeing like how much more time is there going to take, items, submitted review, completed, etc. And I believe we do have the ability to start benchmarking how long things took last month completed compared to this month. So yes.
Excellent. We have regarding the taskboard display, does dragging and dropping the item into another column update the status of the underlying item and make a record in the audit trail as to who moved the item?
Good question. So we're saying if we drag and drop, does it? So it will update the status, yes, but the underlying item and make a record in the audit trail of who moved item. I believe it will. I think that's not the item I just moved. Let's see, perform accounts payable cutoff. And I am actually going to use my powers that be here. And I'm going to unmute one of my coworkers here. So we have Paige on the line, which I forgot to introduce her. I apologize, Paige. She's on my team and she helps with partners in our implementation process. So Paige, I believe you can speak now. If you have an answer off the top of your head, feel free to pipe in here.
Yeah, hi everyone, happy to be here. Yes, I believe that my understanding is it should leave a history of whoever moved it from one status to another.
I'm trying to find that one I just moved.
I think I saw it and now I didn't.
Scroll down a little bit. It's that.
Oh, is it this guy? Oh yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So we can see right there that we can see that I have moved the status and now it is updated to working on it. Perfect.
We have a question to the previous question. So the one that was the benchmark. Can we benchmark closing across periods? We had a follow-up to that one. So shouldn't that be consistent, as in the deadline should always be the same deadline example as the 5th business day?
Sure. Yes. So as far as consistency, yes. If you've set up a deadline to be day 5, absolutely, that's going to stay consistent. I guess what I was thinking about is clients who are looking to expedite their close. So maybe something is on day 7, but you really need it on day 5. So speeding up that close and kind of seeing if you're meeting those benchmarks. But yes, if you were to set up a task day 5, it's absolutely going to stay day 5 unless you change it otherwise. So yes.
And we have another question, but I'm going to preface it by possibly delaying it depending on what we're going to talk about. Are you going to discuss the net close bank reconciliation at all?
Yes, we will. Yep,
So we
absolutely.
have a question that if when you get to that point, if you could also highlight the differences of your solution versus the NetSuite bank rec.
For sure. Absolutely. We'll do that. Okay. A lot of really good questions. That's awesome. Thank you guys. Yes, we will get to that. It's our last little item here, but we'll get there and I'll absolutely remember that. And if I don't, TJ, keep me honest. Okay. So next we are going to move into accruals. So we can create accruals kind of one-off as appropriate. So that this is going to be that record page, very similar to probably what you're used to seeing in the NetSuite system. We can actually name our accruals, you know, if we have different currencies, dates, opportunities to auto reverse if we have an accrual, drop in a memo, etc. But we also can leverage accruals off of different transactions types. Let me. Where am I? I might have pressed the wrong. That's what I wanted. But we can actually bring them in off of different transactions. So if we had bills or anything in that sense, we can start leveraging that to create the accrual. We can also do it in mass. So if we have, you know, a big list of CSV imports, we can create accruals in that sense too. So kind of 3 different options there. Once we've actually created the accruals, we have the approval process to make sure that those line up with our expectations. So we can see here the different names of the accruals, the date, the amount, and then subsidiary and any additional information that we may need. Once we approve those, we have the ability to also always adjust if we need to do that. But this is a great opportunity just to kind of keep track of what's flowing in and out of our accrual account. Let's look at this one, New York rent. So rent's probably the easiest one to wrap your mind around. Maybe you have a payment that hasn't gone out yet, but you certainly know it's coming. We can keep a log of those transactions here. And if we needed to reaccrue things, we can very quickly see if that hit our rent expense or not. But yeah, I really like this feature. My client, again, we had a massive spreadsheet of every single month, the accruals we needed. And I would lie if I didn't admit that we absolutely had times where we reversed an accrual that, you know, invoice did not come in. We forgot to rebook the accrual, and that can get you in trouble pretty quickly. So to keep all that in here and just be able to see what's flowing in and out is a pretty nifty tool. Amortizations, I'm going to hit those quickly here as well. So I will just pause. So I know I had said that net close was unique because a lot of our modules don't actually post to the general ledger. Accruals and amortizations are going to be the 2 kind of different ones. They do post to your general ledger. So they are going to post a journal entry, which is awesome. So those are general ledger impacting versus kind of more project management tasks, you know, those types of things. So I'm running short on time, so I am going to just open up an amortization so we can see what that looks like. Again, if you have used the prepaid module in NetSuite, this should look very, very familiar. We can create them off of, you know, bills. We can create them one-off. But for any prepaids we need to set up in the system, the biggest difference here is we can modify and write off. If you have had prepaids in NetSuite before, that was a real pain point for us if we, you know, amortized out a prepaid early or needed to adjust something really kind of stringent and difficult, if not impossible to do. So that's going to be the real difference here. And then as we do post those journal entries, they're going to populate here and we can drill into the journal entry. And again, audit, we can keep a log of where this is coming from. and the source transaction back to that schedule. So that's pretty good. All right. Any questions on amortizations or Flux? If not, I'm going to, or Flux, amortization or prepaids. If not, I'm going to jump into Flux, just as I see we're kind of winding down on time here.
Yeah, we have one related question. I believe, can the accrual automation record types be updated to include custom segments? If the accrual automation creates a journal, is it the standard journal or a custom record type?
I believe so. Paige, did you hear that? Just to keep me honest here.
Yes, I believe it's no, it's just a normal journal, the amortizations. And then what was the other part?
The other question was, can the accrual automation record types be updated to include custom segments?
Yes, yep. So we've added this new feature, shared transactions, that you can combine, where you can add as many segments as you need, you can do as many allocations as you need. And so yes, we can.
Perfect.
Thanks.
We have other questions, but let's move on, and anyone who's asked a question that we may not be able to get to, we will follow up in the
Super.
that we send out.
All right, so quickly here, I just navigated to Flux, generate Flux. I just wanted to quickly show you what this may look like. Again, we can set up source scenarios, whether that's year to date, prior month, budget to actual, select our current period that we want to compare, and then materiality. So this is a big thing for a lot of clients, is setting that materiality threshold. For us, typically it was, $10,000 and, 10% or something along those lines. So we absolutely can set thresholds both for our balance sheet and income statement accounts. And then if we want a percentage, and then toggle if that's an and or situation. AI, this is kind of the fun piece that people like to see. We can include different AI explanations. If we were to create it here kind of at the source level, what that's going to do is apply to all of the Flux analysis. So things like that is maybe, COVID broke out, and we want that to apply to all of our transactions. So that's something we'd include here. I'm also going to show you on a line level or an account level that you can apply the AI explanation there if you didn't have like an arching explanation for something that happened in your business. So go here, Flux analysis, and we're going to do review. And this is where we're going to be able to see all of those accounts and anything that was tagged as kind of needing an explanation. So if I drill into revenue, we're going to be able to see that primary explanation. So this is where we would have the opportunity to provide our explanation. If we were leveraging that AI capability, you can see here we can provide different context. So it looks like we told the program Q1 spike in revenue due to sales conference, add detail. And what that did is we hit update or add, and the AI came up with this entire explanation. So really cool opportunities here. Obviously, you're going to want to use your professional judgment and make sure you're reading through this, but really, really awesome to kind of see, even for fun, what is it coming up with the data that we've fed it. And it is going to look at that GL data and any subledger data that we have included in the system. So I think that's awesome. I have spent so many hours on Flux analysis myself. So anything where I'm not just downloading general ledger detail to throw into my own template, that is going to save you time. And then the opportunity to leverage AI to come up with some explanations a little bit quicker is awesome as well. Any question on Flux? Right. None. The long-awaited bank reconciliation. So I'm going to come up here again to net close. Within setup, as I mentioned, we do have this bank connect feature where we're using Plaid. So we just hit new bank connection, and Plaid is going to open up for us to connect our bank. Again, this is used by many, many different organizations, Venmo probably being the most popular. We have not had, if any, banks not come up on here. I think pretty much all North America and majority of Europe are using the Plaid plugin, which is awesome. So number one right there, I'll kind of hit them as I'm moving. That is one differentiating feature from the NetSuite bank reconciliation. They do have a plug, but it's more of an API. For my client, we looked at using it, but we had to authorize it like every time it wanted to run. So it became a real headache for us. And then the other thing is it's not super accepted by every bank. So it was limiting on whether your bank even could connect to NetSuite through it. So our Plaid feature is going to be the number one probably selling point if you're looking at a bank recon between NetSuite and the Netgain platform, is just that ability to bring in your transactions. If you can't connect your bank, and what we ended up doing was we would run a CSV import every single month with our bank's transaction detail. So that's kind of the workaround there, and what my clients had to do instead. So once you've connected your bank, you can see here, and it will have kind of a go live date created. So you can see when transactions will start pulling in. So coming down to bank, let's go to match bank transactions. So this will look pretty familiar if you've used that NetSuite bank recon. This is going to allow us to match our bank activity on the right to our transaction detail. We can match one-to-one or one-to-many. So if we did have, multiple transactions that made up one journal, we can do that. If we have a difference, we still can match the transactions. All we're going to be prompted to know is a journal entry will be created for that difference. So we will actually post that to the GL, which again, I don't believe NetSuite has the ability to actually post transactions. It's more just a match capability. So once you match, if we had sent that through, we'll be able to review those matches. We also have the ability to set up rules for an auto match. So this is pretty great, and another differentiating feature where we have a lot more robust options when it comes to the auto match capabilities, where you can set up rules. And then we're actually going to give you a percentage of confidence as well. So we can see here, I can drill into either transaction. And then we can see, why did the system think that this was an auto match opportunity? If we like it, we can go ahead and match it, and it's going to send it into our matched transactions. So once we've matched everything up, we have the opportunity to then go review. Maybe we look at this and say, actually that doesn't look right. That doesn't feel right. Go ahead and unmatch it, and it's going to shoot it back into our auto match transaction listing. So that's really the reconciliation piece. I have another matching transactions module that I will show you, but I want to pause there. Any questions on bank recons specifically?
Yeah, we have one question would this completely replace the NetSuite's match solution?
Yes, it would. And we have the opportunity to, I don't think I showed this, but as we are doing, our one-to-one or one-to-many, we can also set it up so that it will create items within our reconciliation module. So again, kind of pushing us towards that opportunity to auto reconcile. So if you're reconciling here, your cash recon could potentially be done, assuming everything kind of lays out the way you thought it was going to. So we can also leverage those different modules together.
Great. And then another question is, are you able to set some rules for auto match?
Yes. Yep. So that would all be done in the setup, and those rules are a lot more robust than any of the auto match rules that NetSuite has out of the box. So yes.
Can you give a couple of examples just off the top of your head of where those are more robust?
I am not sure that I actually know. Paige, are you familiar with the difference in rules?
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with NetSuite's rules, but I do know like you are able to go in and create rules yourself, and I'm pretty sure in NetSuite you aren't able to do that. So you're able to go in at any time and create any rules that you would like, and then our team is also continuously adding new rules to help make this a better process. But I am not super familiar with NetSuites, but we could definitely get that information for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can tell you on my client, we didn't leverage the auto recon at all. So I actually, as a NetSuite user, didn't know that was available until we rolled out this product. I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't know. I wonder why we didn't use that.
And is these rules, are they done by administrator, or who has control from a role perspective to modify these rules?
Yeah,
Or
I
is it probably, I would imagine, like with most things, it's a custom um, setting for a role. So in theory, you could probably
mhm,
allow someone to be a rules analyst.
mhm.
Yeah, we'll have permissions around it, and then you can decide what role you want to be able to make those rules.
Absolutely.
And Ashley, I also realized I missed your question from the amortization schedules. I'll make sure that we get that added. I just wanted to let you know that I did see that.
Super. And then just quickly, we do also have this cash application, and this is going to be unique to the Netgain product as well. Again, it's allowing us to start matching cash transactions to things like bills and invoices. So this is totally unique. NetSuite doesn't have anything like this. So again, we can do a one-to-one or a one-to-many type situation. So maybe, I choose 3 of these. I say it is allocated to this $100,000 bill. If I go ahead and match it, it is going to prompt me again, hey, this doesn't exactly match, but if you want to, we can either keep this bill, open, or we can apply a discount. So that's pretty cool, where if you do have instances where you're trying to match cash application to invoices that may need to remain open, or applying discounts, it'll actually post those journal entries for you as well. But otherwise, that is bank reconciliations. And that pretty much brings me to the end of net close. We have 2 whopping minutes. So I am going to just really, really quickly, just since we had talked about it, show you that shared transactions module. So this is going to allow us to start allocating different expenses across, subsidiaries, departments, whatever. When you download the Suite app, you are going to see this allocate expenses button show up, and then you'll also have the shared transactions in your toolbar. We have 3 different ways we can allocate things across. We can set up templates. We can do a one-to-one allocation right on the line level. Or we can actually do it at the overarching. So if you want to apply it to all of the transactions. So I'm going to show you the allocate expense real quick. So if we did set up that template, all we would do is select the line item we want. Oh, come on. Oh, you're going to embarrass me, aren't you? Okay. I'm going to go back and I'll just do it in here. So we can do it with the template there, or we can also open up the bill and just do it right on the transaction level. This one's probably more used in clients that I've seen. So let's say we had a 50-50 split. Go ahead and save. Think. It knows we have a minute, so it's going to take its time. And then in the shared transactions tab, we can see that it reversed out that entry and then actually allocated across those 2 departments as we had it set up. So pretty great. It doesn't only work with bills. I'd say 90% of people do use it amongst their bills, but if you have any other transaction types, it absolutely can be utilized for that. Or as we had seen kind of in some of the other modules, we can leverage it there. Whoa, we're at 11 right now. I do have some extra time and I'm happy to answer questions. But if people need to drop, I recognize I have talked straight up to the hour. So I'll pause there.
We have kind of 2 questions that are kind of this similar, and I think it might be a good segue. Effectively, we have a question. Can you guys consider a separate session for subsidiaries, transactions, posting, global BUs, etc.? It was very briefly one slide as a bullet, and then the other one was asking about what can it do with subsidiaries. I think this allocation. One thing that might be nice is maybe we either set up a follow-up session that we can share with everyone, or we can do a brief recording and send that out along with this as well. So yes, we will make sure that we get those questions answered. Thank you for asking those. I think it would be good to close out here, and then possibly have a follow-up. We do have a collection of all of the questions that we did not get to, so I appreciate everyone participating and asking those questions. It's great that this is a solution that people are interested in. Feel free to follow up with either Andy or myself with any questions that might come up after we close the webinar, and we'll get to those as well. Also, feel free to reach out to Jeremy at limebox.com if you're interested in learning more about the product for to arrange maybe a deep dive in some of the other products that were talked about. But yes, we do plan on having some follow-up webinars and are looking forward to everyone attending. So thank you so much.
Amazing.
And have a wonderful rest of your week.
Appreciate it, everyone. Thanks so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. We wanted to get this second session started just to cover some of the final questions that were asked in the chat that unfortunately we didn't have the time to get to. So Andy and I are back at it, and we wanted to dive right in. So first, the two questions that we wanted to start with are kind of related, and they're on the net close solution. So we'll start with that. We wanted to talk more about the task management features and how they can be used to help with training new employees or filling in for employees who are out on leave, followed by using that and talking about how we can do a soft close for the different subsidiaries, transactions, departments, locations, etc. So we'll start with those and move on from there.
Perfect. Great questions, and it's great to be with you all again. I am going to pop up my NetSuite just so we can start taking a look here. So as a reminder, within NetClose, we have our task management board available to us. Typically when we demo this and we show this to folks, we are looking at it purely from a close management perspective, but there are definitely other usages for it and considerations like, what if we are training new employees? What if we're filling in for a different employee who is either overloaded or maybe out of office? So just to bring back the task board and kind of remind us what we're looking at, this is built as a Kanban board where we can drag and drop our different tasks. But when we are setting up different tasks, we are being mindful of different things like adding steps into the task. So you can see here, I've pulled up verify disposals are complete. Under this step, or excuse me, under this task, we do have steps set up where we auto-generate month over month with the description of what the staff is expected to be doing. So this kind of answers one of our questions where how can we help fill in an employee who may be out? So if we do ever need to reassign employees, we can do that here through the drop down, and we can select a user as long as they've been set up with NetClose. And then we have that ability to retain the steps, and we are able to become more efficient with, what exactly does this task look like? What do I have to do? Instead of recreating the wheel, we kind of keep that all right within NetSuite, and we're able to pass down that knowledge. Another way I can see us using this, and I suppose you could kind of apply that for training a new employee as well, right? We have the steps in here and we're able to quickly explain what the task requires. But another way we could even take this is up here at the top, you can see this drop down for type. So we do have this task board set up for our close management, but we definitely can set up different types of task boards. So maybe one of those looks like new employee onboarding. If there's certain things that we need them to be doing in and outside of NetSuite, we could set up an entire task board for that as we are onboarding those new employees. So very flexible for us, whether that's, again, an employee who's out, an employee who's overloaded and just needs to kind of reallocate time, or even if we have a new employee coming on board. But that's a great question. And I love to show the flexibility of the Kanban board and our task board in those fashions. So the other question, as this was kind of a two-parter, was about our different soft close abilities. So as I had mentioned, and what we may see as a task month over month is to start closing down the books. So this could look like closing down accounts payable to closing down an entire subsidiary. So we do have that ability in NetClose. So if I navigate up here to the top dash, we can go into close management and then log transitions and account segments. So I love this functionality. As I mentioned, it just gives you a lot more ownership of what's going in and out of the system. And you'll notice that we can actually start closing things down by subsidiary, different transaction types, down to user roles, or users and roles, classes, departments, as well as locations. So this is where we could start coming in and actually locking down subsidiaries. We could unlock one if we need an adjusting journal entry to be posted. The user role is really powerful as well. You could imagine if you're a controller and you have either a topside entry or an adjusting entry, and you don't want anyone else accessing the system, I could come in here and just unlock my own role, quickly go post that, get it approved, and then lock everything else down. So a lot of functionality in here as well, across the board, and a really powerful addition to that NetSuite close process.
Excellent. And then we also, while we're on the net close, we had a question that if we could highlight kind of the differences from net close to Flowcast.
Certainly, yeah. So this is a question we get a lot, of course, as people are doing their due diligence and comparing different softwares across the market. Flowcast comes up quite a bit for us as a top competitor. In true fashion, I'm not here to bash Flowcast. I actually really appreciate Flowcast as another close tool. I used it as a controller for about 2 years on a client before coming into this role, and I have a lot of respect for that software. Of course, as we kind of discussed in our webinar time and time again, the thing that you're going to see, the main difference between us is that we are going to be NetSuite native, again, sitting right on that dashboard, keeping everything in your instance. We're never leaving. We don't have APIs that are syncing. Where this can start to cause issues is a common one for us was in the reconciliation process, right? So maybe I'm reconciling an account and my GL has not updated for an adjusting journal entry. That can start causing real inefficiencies and problems for us. And while we bring everything into the NetSuite platform, keeping it all housed under one roof, kind of what we would call NetSuite as our source of truth. So keeping everything with that source of truth and never having issues housing things in multiple different areas. Other efficiencies we see just purely on an implementation side, we are able to leverage things like user roles and things you've set up previously. So we don't need to recreate the wheel in that sense where who is this person? What are their rights? What do we need to allow them to do and not do? Those are already created and we get to leverage those. So those are just a couple of the differences, but again, a lot of respect for Flowcast. And it's a great product, but it's just end of day is not going to be NetSuite native like our options.
Excellent. And the final piece that we wanted to discuss was diving a little bit deeper into the shared transaction. We had a good start, but unfortunately we were pretty rushed towards the end. One of the questions around the shared transaction was asking if we could show it with subsidiaries. We did just a quick answer saying yes, but we wanted to dive in a little bit more to give a better overview of the shared transaction solution, especially as it equates to other subsidiaries.
Perfect. Yes, and that was I'll take ownership of that. We were pushed right to the last second, but I also really appreciated all of your questions. I love when we get questions, so I'll take that over having too much time any day. So I do actually have a bill queued up here that we can start taking a look at. So as mentioned, shared transactions is a viable option across all different transaction types, but I think looking at a bill is probably the most, it's going to be the most common use of shared transactions. So as such, I have queued up a bill for us here. So this should look pretty familiar if you are in NetSuite using that AP functionality. 3 kind of different ways that we can start using shared transactions. So when we do download that bundle, you're going to notice immediately we have this new button called allocate expenses. So that's going to be one way that we can utilize shared transactions. We can also actually go into the line level of each entry and start allocating expenses that way. So that's going to be the first way I show this. So if I go ahead and just edit my bill and open up this record, we're going to be able to see that we can go on the line level for each of these activities. So we can see we have some advertising expense, some overhead, and then it looks like we even have a salary that needs to be split between 2 subsidiaries. So if we do just want to do a one-to-one, we can come over here to, again, this new input here, shared transaction template line. And if we've set up a template, we can start selecting that here. So let's say maybe that one was a 50-50 split. The next line was our, let's say, head count by department. And I believe this one was our intercompany. So we could hit an intercompany split. So we are able to assign those here with the templates we previously set up. If I go ahead and hit save, what that's going to do is allow the system to start allocating those expenses out. And then once that thinks, we'll go into the shared transaction tab, which will also be a new tab once you download that bundle. And what we can see here is the activity actually being reversed out. So that is going to be the original entries, just reversing them out to zero out any activity. And then following that, and we did do a ton of allocations here, so it might be a little bit hard to follow. But that's going to be the activity of us actually allocating, whether it was to different departments or even hitting, as you can see over here, our different subsidiaries. What's really powerful about this too, as you can see here, we will post those eliminating intercompany transactions for you, whether that's a receivable or on the payable side. So saving you some headaches there. But this is where we can kind of see exactly what's going on and what those allocations have accomplished. If at any time you've made an allocation and you don't like it or you hit the wrong accounts, we can very easily go back into that line level and remove any allocations. So all I have to do here is come up and I can remove the allocation just as easily as I set it. Go ahead and say save, and that should save that down. The other way that we can do this is actually going into this allocate expenses button. So if I hit that, we can take a look at what that might look like. Pretty similar here, we're able to start selecting the transaction line levels and then our allocation templates that we want. We are also able at any time to, so let's say we hit 50-50 split. I am able to update these weights at any time. These weights aren't coming to 100% or 100. So they are very versatile in what we want. So maybe this is more of a, a square footage base, something like that. We're able to be very flexible on whatever your weight is. So people tend to really like that. And then we also can always edit very quickly in here if maybe we have a one-off difference for the month. So a couple different ways we can actually start allocating things. If I did hit that with our 50-50 split, all I would do is select save. And then similar to the last example, we'll see that actually allocate within our shared transactions tab. Again, navigate to shared transactions. We see that reversal here, reversing out our $50,000. And then we have that department allocation between admin and marketing. So just as easy as that. You don't have to always use templates. If you ever do have one-off allocations that you need, we absolutely can handle that. But I like to show the templates as that's a quality that a lot of people are looking for if you have month over month allocations that you are posting.
All right. Well, and that does it for all the questions. Thank you all for giving us an opportunity to kind of create a follow-up video. We are going to send this out. So if there are any follow-up questions, feel free to email Andy or myself, and we'd be happy to get those answered. Everyone, thank you for your time and really appreciate you tuning in.